Top. KCAL-TV, Norwalk, Los Angeles, California 9. Now, Jerry Dunphy, Jane Velez-Mitchell, Wayne Shattuck, weather, and Joe Fowler, sports. This is Prime 9 News at 8.
Good evening, I'm Jane Velez-Mitchell.
And I'm Pat Harvey. Jerry has the night off.
We begin with a big breaking story happened just a couple of moments ago in Las Vegas, a major upset in the sports world.
That's right. Buster Douglas, champion no more. Evander Holyfield, the new champion. Joe Fowler was at the Palace in Hollywood. Joe, I guess that's why they had the fireworks at the beginning of the fight, huh?
Well, the fireworks occurred at the beginning of the fight and in the third round.
Torn apart by a deadly obsession with guns. Now, this is the story of 14-year-old Richard Hubler. Today, he was ordered to spend the next 7 years of his life in a juvenile correctional facility, that for shooting his own sister to death. Before the hearing began in the Santa Ana courtroom this morning, Richard Hubler hugged his parents. It was an emotional moment that brought them here when Richard shot his sister Gemma in the head with a sawed-off shotgun. It happened in June at the Hublers' Anaheim Shores home. Gemma was only 12. Last month, Richard was convicted of second-degree murder. Today, all he could do was beg for forgiveness.
I understand that what I did was wrong, you know, and I do time for it. But send me to Hawaii, you know, it's not going to do that much to me. You know, I know what I did was wrong. Look, my sister, I just want to get out, you know, and go see my sister is great. And let me go to the funeral and nothing. And I just want to say thank you to all the people that wrote me letters in my behalf. They're real nice. They meant a lot to me. And that's all you're on.
He even stated that he wished it would have been him that died instead of my daughter, because he knew that, how much we loved her.
Richard said he loved his sister and never meant to hurt her. But prosecutors told Judge Robert Thomas that Richard is dangerous. This was the second time he'd shot someone. Just 2 years ago, he was charged with shooting a boy in the back with a BB gun. At that time, Richard was placed on probation and ordered to stay away from guns. He promised he would, but soon began collecting rifles, pistols, and other firearms.
He's had his chance. And now, after he's killed his sister, he comes again to this court and says, "Trust me, I'll be good this time." We've heard that before.
After further testimony from Richard's family and friends, Judge Robert Thomas sentenced him to the maximum, 7 years in the California Youth Authority facility.
During that period of time, Mr. Hubler, you're going to have an opportunity to make and carry out all of those things that you have told us by way of your statements here in court and by way of the things that your counsel have informed the court of.
Public defender Sharon Petrosino claims Richard's sentence will only hurt him in the long run because he'll be influenced by hardened criminals. She says he's not naturally violent and that his fascination with guns is not uncommon among kids. She blames that on television.
You know, they see on TV the guy who gets up and he's in the next movie a week later, and they don't really see, they don't ever see, you know, you can tell someone a million times that guns kill, but you don't know it.
But whether he realized they were deadly or not, Richard Hubler has learned a big lesson about guns, and it's likely he'll be studying that lesson every day for the next 7 years. The DA's office says Richard Hubler may be released from the Youth Detention Center early. They say it's all up to him. With good behavior, he could be out in a few years.
Jane, a mistrial today in the trial of comedian Sam Kinnison's bodyguard. The jury saying today it didn't believe either side's account of an alleged rape. 22-year-old Umway Carter was hired by Kinnison for one night to protect him. Now he's accused of raping and sexually assaulting Kinnison's girlfriend last June. Carter says the woman consented to having sex with him.
He's the one that called the police, that he's the one that was waiting for the police outside the house, that he gave a complete statement of what had occurred back on June 21st, and there's been no production of any type of evidence, physical evidence, or any other type of evidence.
Kinnison reportedly had passed out in his home after a party, leaving Carter alone with his 26-year-old girlfriend. He did not testify at the trial. No decision yet to retry the case. Carter remains in jail on $100,000 bail. The Orange County baby battle isn't over tonight. In fact, we've just started part 2. Surrogate mom Anna Johnson filed an appeal today. Johnson wants the right to visit the child she delivered for an Orange County couple. On Monday, Johnson was stripped of any legal contact with the baby. Johnson says if she has to, she'll go to the United States Supreme Court to get her parental rights. She bore the child for genetic parents Mark and Crispina Calvert. Johnson and her attorney are looking for a settlement with the Calverts.
Because we keep hearing you say that.
We've talked about settlement. We've communicated settlement offers to the Calverts, which included what we said in court to the judge, where they could have custody of the child, and Anna would have no vote at all in any of the decision-making process, but she would have parental rights, including visitation and the right of judicial review for any egregious conduct on their part. And that would settle this case.
Johnson agreed to carry the child to birth for a $10,000 fee. She changed her mind about giving up the baby while still pregnant. Now wants to help him grow up. Several weeks before we hear about this appeal, we'll keep you posted.
And this extremely painful story to report. We have more tonight on the young girl who apparently lived her life in a closet, allegedly held captive by her own parents. Well, her parents were formally charged with that crime today, and the little girl, she's safe in a foster home. Our Luis Patino has more details on the case that has touched hearts across California.
She has missed out on her childhood, and now it seems many of you are trying to help change that. These are just some of the gifts that are pouring into the San Bernardino Police Department from all over the country for the girl police have nicknamed Angel. She told police she wanted to go trick-or-treating this year, and she asked for an angel costume. Police believe her parents, Joseph and Sandra Sauceda, locked her up for most of her 12-year-old life. This detective, Stephen Filson, helped rescue her out of the roach-infested closet Tuesday. She lay in her own feces. Her warm-ups were soaked in urine.
I described it as a gagging smell and almost putrid. It sickened me.
Today, her parents were arraigned on charges of felony child abuse. Her father is also accused of inflicting bodily harm against her. Joseph Sauceda asked to be released on his own recognizance. The judge quickly refused and upheld the $50,000 bond on each one. Then Sandra Saucedo reacted as if the seriousness of what she and her husband allegedly did to their daughter was finally sinking in. No one can say why the Saucedas allegedly imprisoned their daughter. They have 6 other children who all seem fine.
Somebody subjecting another human being to a condition like that was obviously, unspeakable. We wouldn't treat our dogs or animals like that.
Psychiatrists say sometimes parents single out a child because they have a mental or physical handicap and the parents cannot cope. But Angel has neither of these. Yet she lived in the darkness, coming out of the closet, police say, only once a day to either use the bathroom or do chores. Now she's in a foster home, receiving gifts of love from people she's never met, starting life again, this time out in the open. Luis Patino, Channel 9 News.
If you'd like to help, if you'd like to donate to Angel's Fund, we do have a phone number for you. You can call the San Bernardino Police Association at 714-889-0661. Let's give you that number again, 714-889-0661. And if you didn't get it all down, just give us a call here at Channel 9. We'd be happy to pass it on to you.
A shootout between federal agents and drug smugglers along our border with Mexico to report tonight. The Border Patrol won, and the prize? More than 4,300 pounds of cocaine. The battle took place last night at the border crossing in Nogales, Arizona, when 2 agents ran into a caravan of 40 pack horses.
With felony child abuse today, the judge refused to release them on their own recognizance, setting bail at $50,000 each.
A 14-year-old.
Today, new safety questions are being asked about the Metro Blue Line. Pat Lalama rode the rails today to find out how this may affect the future of the 3-month-old train system.
This is what's left of a tragic story of an attempt to beat the odds. But the numbers didn't favor a woman and her young son. The cost? Their lives. The RTD says Graciela Marinero was racing a slow-moving freight train along Long Beach Boulevard. She cut in front of that train with a left-hand turn, but a southbound Blue Line broadsided her.
Grand Station, next stop.
Now, as far as the RTD is concerned, Blue Line personnel followed procedure by the book. That means the crossing arms were down, the lights were flashing, and the horns were blowing. Now, assuming that's true, does that absolve the Blue Line of any responsibility when another person makes a mistake? No, says this angry man.
There must be sturdy gates, not these flimsy, tiny, winking gates with tiny little lights. If there were loud, audible noises coming from the grade crossing rather than from the car as well, I think that we would not have had this accident.
Walsh wants the speed limit reduced for the Blue Line and bilingual warning signs. But the men and women at the helm put the blame elsewhere.
People do stupid things.
What do you do about that?
We just hope and do the best we can, and if we can anticipate it, we avoid it.
Well, let's compare the Blue Line's accident rate with San Diego's trolley. Now, even though the Blue Line runs fewer miles, 22 accidents seems like a lot compared to San Diego's 6, only since July 1st.
I'm sure that as this investigation proceeds, it's still very in early stages, that if we find some way of improving, that we'll be looking for that and implementing it.
But the RTD hired a safety consultant today. After all, the cargo is human life. In Los Angeles, I'm Pat Lalama.
That safety consultant Pat mentioned will have apparent gang-related kidnapping of a
wondering how to end a rash of tragic accidents that have plagued the Blue Line train system. 2 people were killed last night and 4 others injured this afternoon. Channel 9's Carrie Berglund has more.
The car was so mangled by the accident, it was a while before police could even determine how many victims were inside. 26-year-old Graciela Marinero and her 4-year-old son, Willie Torres, were killed instantly because, by all eyewitness accounts, Marinero drove around the gates and tried to beat the train. This is the 15th time in the Blue Line's 3 months of service that an accident has occurred because someone was apparently in a hurry. Last night's accident is weighing heavy on the minds of the train operators today. They say scenes like this one happen every day. Here, despite a line of flashing no left turn signs, this car turned anyway. And even when the motorist makes it,
they don't think about what they're doing to us. After they done made it and start laughing and going across the tracks, we got the rest of the day for the feeling to stay with us.
Jermaine Williams has been with the RTD for 15 years, and today he is angry about last night's accident because, he says, it was so avoidable.
They're stupid. They're in a hurry. And unfortunately, they can't beat us. And we cannot stop. I'm not trying to insult nobody. I'm honestly not, but if I am and it'll keep them from coming around their arms, then great. That's fine with me.
But apparently the lesson is a tough one to teach. Cars, pedestrians,